Alright, in this lesson what we're going to do is talk about actions. Now you've already seen them a little bit in the past couple of lessons where we've had to, really use them in order to show you Matinee in action. Action, action. How do you like that?
Yeah.
We saw that the scene manager was at the heart of Matinee. But without actions, the scene manager is really nothing. Logan, tell them what an action is.
Well, actions are what define where something's going to move and when it's going to move there, or how long it's going to take to move there.
And it also defines the type of path as well between 2 points.
That's right.
Okay, so let's go ahead and set up a real quick scene again. We're kind of starting fresh. Nothing wrong with you guys seeing this recreated over and over. We're just going to do it a little bit different every time. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and come into Matinee, and let's go ahead and create a scene manager. And, we could go ahead and get a couple of things out of the way real quick. First of all, such as, let's come down here to Events, go ahead and set its tag to listen for Start Movie. And while we've got that in place, let's go ahead and come over here and open up our actor classes. And from in here, let's just come down here to Triggers, grab a trigger, and we'll simply right-click and add trigger here. Just kind of get myself set up, that's all. So we'll go ahead and double-click, come up here into Advanced. I'm going to set Be Hidden to False. Again, I'm cruising through here pretty quickly at this point because we've already talked about this stuff at depth, or in depth. Now let's go ahead and come down here to Events, and we want to broadcast out Start Movie. Good enough. So now we're at least set up to trigger off Matinee to begin, or the scene manager anyways to begin. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at adding in some actions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, actually it doesn't really matter where, but I'm just going to move my camera up to about right here. With the scene manager selected, I'm going to go ahead and switch over into actions, and you'll notice that I have two different types of actions that I can add when I click on the Add New Action. Oh, come on, give me the little tooltip. It's there, you just got to believe me. When you click on the Add New Action button, we get an action pause and an action move camera. Logan?
Well, an action move camera would be telling is how you define that you need to move to a certain point. We'll be showing you these points in just a minute. An action pause would be hold at a certain point.
Exactly. So are we moving or are we pausing? So let's go ahead and start out with an action move camera. And I'll go ahead and place the action into the scene, but what I want you to notice is this. There's no special kind of icon that was just created where the camera was.
If you want to think about it this way, no extra actor was created. An action is part of a property of the scene manager.
Exactly. Now, let's go ahead and add a second action. And we could, if we wanted to, we could create another one, or we could simply come over here and we could duplicate the action. So now we've got two actions. Now, what we need to do is we need to create interpolation points, okay? The interpolation point is going to define the position in the map where we're going to actually have the camera at, or where the actor is going to be at, depending upon what mode the scene manager is running in. As a matter of fact, from this point forward, I'm simply just going to say camera, okay? And just know that if you're running the mode in effect actor mode, it'll be the actor that you would be referring to. So we're just going to start saying camera from now on, just to make things a little bit simpler. Okay, so again, the interpolation point is going to define where the camera is going to be at that actual interpolation point and its orientation as well. So let me show you how we can go ahead and create them. First of all, what you want to do is make sure your camera is positioned where you want to start at, right here. I'm going to come over here to Tools, and I'm going to add an interpolation point. Click. Take a look at this. I get an iconic representation of viewing through a camera. A little set of crosshairs right there, so we know exactly where we're looking at. If I move over here to the side, you'll notice it really wasn't crosshairs, it was an arrow in there. Okay, well, we just lost that. But anyways, let's go ahead and back away. You'll notice that what we have is an icon of a camera, okay, and which direction the camera is looking at. Okay, so now, at this point, what we need to do is come back over here to Actions, and I need to link up my action with this interpolation point. So I'm going to select the very first action like I just did, and then I'm going to come down here to the Mat Action category. I'm going to go ahead and expand it, and you'll find the property int point or interpolation point located up underneath it. I'll simply come down and click, and you'll notice I've already got the interpolation point selected, so I can simply click Use. Okay, so now it's using the interpolation point. Now what I need to do is go ahead and add another interpolation point in. So let's go ahead and cruise all the way around here, around the hall, maybe to about right there or so. And I'll come back over to Tools, and I'll add another interpolation point. Click, and there it is. Okay, so what we need to do is come in here and associate that one with its action. So I'll come down here and select the second action, Again, up under the Mat Action category, come down to End Point, simply click, and Use because he's selected. And we just had something wonderful happen. A path was drawn, okay? You can see the yellow line now going from this interpolation point all the way over here, making a straight cut all the way over here to this interpolation point, okay? Now, at this point in time, we've got a trigger set up. The trigger set up to actually trigger off the scene manager. We've got 2 points for the camera to move between, but we're still not ready to go, are we, Logan?
Right, we've got the positions in place, but we don't have the timing set up yet.
That's right, and this timing is very critical. We're actually got both of these are set at 0, so what I need to do is go ahead and adjust the duration for this second point. What that's going to mean, basically, is the length of time that it's going to take to go from the first action to the second action. So we can kind of look at the End Point property as being the #1 most important property for an action, and then we could say the #2 most important would be up under time, and that would be the duration. So let's say it's going to take about, I don't know, let's say 4 seconds perhaps to get over from one point to another. Let's go ahead and cause this to refresh there, so I'll just simply click off of it. You'll see now that it's updated to say 4 seconds. So it's simply going to take 4 seconds to go from here all the way to here. Simple. And if I go ahead and click over here on scenes, you can see that my total time has now updated to say 4 seconds. As I said in the previous lesson, basically we're going to see this total time being a total of all of the actions time there. Okay? So at this point, if we wanted to kind of go in there and get real fancy and see what we've got, we could simply just come up here and open up our preview window and hit play, and this is what we've got, going from point A to point B. Now, there's no reason to actually go into the game right now and show that. In a sense, that's kind of what I just did.
The exact same thing would happen once you triggered it.
Exactly. So let's make this a little bit more interesting. What I'd like to do at this point is start talking about the path. Okay? Let's go ahead and come up here into a top view. I'm going to go ahead and hit W for a minute just to hide all of my static meshes. You can see that we've got this straight line. Okay? What I want to do is show you how we can change the line type from linear, which is what it is right now, over to Bezier so that I have the ability to control the curvature of the line. And believe it or not, this is so easy to do. Watch this. Go ahead and close this category up, just to help with any redraw problems down here. So with this first one selected, I'll simply come down to the path category and expand it. And I'm going to come down to path style. What do you know? Path style, linear. Let's go ahead and take this guy and change it to Bezier. And by doing that, nothing's changed up here. Well, we kind of need to have Bezier on both ends to actually see the update occur, or to actually have Bezier handles. So I'll come down here to the second action and change its path style from linear to Bezier. And of course, I could simply double-click on that if I'd like. But whoa, look at this. We've definitely had a change occur back over in the viewport. We now have Bezier handles that I can simply left-click on, hold the control button down on the keyboard, and look at that. I can update the curvature of this guy. Pretty nice, eh?
Wow, it's a nice redraw and the path showing exactly where that curve is going.
Exactly. So if we were to put, let's say, an actor on this, let's say a mover, for instance. Let me see you try to keyframe something like that.
Right, even if you could get the curvature to look right, it'd still be extremely hard to line it up and avoid other world geometry or what have you.
Or the simple fact that we're following, the orientation of it adjusting because it's following the path.
Yeah, you have the path fall too.
So, let me see you keyframe that. That would be a total pain. Now, let me show you a little tip at this point, if you will, that's very convenient. What I like to do after first converting actions over to Bezier is I like to straighten out my Bezier handles and then make my adjustments from there. We could end up having these guys way off screen or anything bizarre and crazy.
Right, if you had been zoomed in on something and then both of those path handles being off screen, it's really helpful to straighten out the curve because then the path control points actually lay along the path because it's been straightened out.
Exactly. So to do that, all I need to do is come over here to the action, right click on it, check it out, straighten Bezier curves. Click. Now I can come in here and I can hold control and start adjusting, which is what I want to do right now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and hit W to go ahead and turn on my static meshes again, and I'm going to simply adjust the curvature of my path to accommodate making sure it goes around these structures. So, and I can also kind of take the weighting off or apply additional weighting if I wanted to. So let's say something about that right there. And we can see how that looks now if we wanted to by simply coming back over here into preview and hit play. Look at that. We're now kind of dodging around. Kind of nice, eh?
So from just those 2 points, we're actually rounding a corner.
Exactly. So that's very cool. Now, at this point, what I want to do is go ahead and show you how we can have the camera pause when it hits that last point. Okay, so let's say we've wrapped around this hall, and we're going to hold it still for a minute because we're watching whatever, and then from there we're going to see how we can do a camera cut. So to go ahead and do a pause, basically what we're going to need is to add a action pause into the mix. And with the action pause, here's the important thing. We'll go ahead and just kind of cruise over here real quick, as you were about to see. Let's go ahead and close up Path and come up under Matte Action and take a look at this. Interpolation point. We need to use this with our pause.
Right,
Okay?
you have to specify where you're going to be pausing at.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do is come over here, go ahead and select this interpolation point. Even though we are using it for the action previous, we can use it again. I'll come down here and I'll click Use.
So now you're going to be pausing at the same point that you just moved to.
But the key is, how long do we want to pause for? So
Right.
we'll come down here and say, nah, I don't know, pause for 3 seconds.
Otherwise, it would have just ended. It would have paused, but for no time, which would have looked exactly like ending.
Exactly. Okay, so now with that, we've got it pausing. Next thing we want to do is show you how we would go about adding in a camera cut. I mean, at this point, you know, if you're going to go in there and you're going to create your own movie, it's obviously very important to know how to make a camera, you know, move from point A to point B, and then how you can have it hold, and then how you can have it do a camera cut to another location. I mean, think about the intro section where we looked at the intro UT movie, and the very beginning when we have our 3 heroes walking down the hall, we've got a camera that's panning around behind them, then a cut for in front, then a cut up top, and then another cut where it's panning around again. We've got all this camera action going on, and we could, if we wanted to, put each of these different sequences in various scene managers, but I mean something simple like this where it's kind of linear. We're going to go from here to here, then we're going to hold, then we're going to do this, then we'll do that. We could just put it all in one scene manager if we wanted to.
Right, and this way we'll show how to actually pull off a cut while staying within one scene manager.
Exactly. So it's very easy to do. All we need to do is now go ahead and put, I see we've got our number in there, but we don't have the update, so I'll just simply click up here, click back down here, and now we'll go ahead and move the camera to where we want the camera at. Okay, say right about there, when we're going to do the camera cut. Okay, so as a matter of fact, you know what? Perhaps we could have this camera cut maybe this way, so at least it's looking into the map. Kind of makes sense. Now, we saw that I could go up and I could come over here to Tools. I can add an interpolation point. I can come over here to Actions, and I can go ahead and add an action in and all that good stuff. But there's kind of a little trick available, or not even really a trick. There's another tool available that'll kind of streamline that for us. In other words, so that we don't have to add action, then add interpolation point, then go back to the action and link it up to that interpolation point. We could do all of that at the same time. Okay?
Right, it saves a few repetitive steps.
Absolutely. So all we need to do is come in here, and we'll just say right about here perhaps. You can see right now we've simply got 3 actions in here. I'm going to come over here to Tools, and I'm going to click on this last button here, which is Add Interpolation Point and Action. Click. Look at that. We have an interpolation point added, and if I come over here to Actions, look at this. We've got a new action added in. Okay, so definitely cool. Right now, the length is set to 0. That means from where we pause, this interpolation point up here, it is an instantaneous change once this pause has come to completion for us to snap down to right there. Okay?
That's a camera cut.
That's a camera cut, absolutely. Now, with this, we actually have a little bit of a redraw problem right now, which we can see if we can correct. Sometimes this will correct if we switch back over into a camera mode and then come back into Matinee, and it's not actually updating. I don't have a scroll ability over here on the side. So what we're going to do is, and you can see this one we've actually got scrolling, is if you happen to run into this problem, doesn't happen too often, but if you do see it, it's a very simple fix. All you need to do is simply save your scene. I recommend you close out Unreal Ed and then reopen it, then reopen the scene, and everything will be good. So what we're going to do is we'll cut these two together so that you guys don't have to watch us do that, and we'll pick back up right here. Okay, so now that we've got it reloaded, check it out. Ta-da! We have got a scroll bar. Excellent. Okay, so at this point, as I was saying, that basically now what's happening is, let's just do a quick recap. From 0 to 4 seconds in, the camera is simply going to follow this path around to here. Once it gets to right here, it's going to hold for a duration of 3 seconds. Remember, with this pause right here, we assign the interpolation point being the same point that we just moved to. And since it's a pause, of course, 3 seconds, it's just going to hold. Then we have a camera action move down here. And with this camera move, it's going to take place instantaneously because, 0 seconds is what we're using as the duration. So now that's going to put us right about, let's say, here. Now what I want to do is go ahead and say that we're going to be maybe over here by the end. Looking that way. I don't know. And again, let's go ahead and use that new tool that I just showed you. Remember, right now, if we come down here, that's the last action. And be real careful here, because if I select off the viewport and come in here and select one of these guys, and then come up here to Tools and click on this Add Interpolation Point and Action, what's going to happen is, since the viewport wasn't the last thing that had focus, the action will be added. The interpolation point will also be added, but it will be located wherever your scene manager is. Be careful with that, because that can get you in a little bit of trouble. But also do take note. Make sure that you don't have one of your actions somewhere up in the middle of the mix like this selected, because it'll simply add your new action after it. Okay? So I'm just going to come down here, make sure the last one's selected, and then simply click to update my viewport. It's as easy as that. Okay, so I've updated my viewport. I'll come over here to Tools. I'll add Interpolation Point in Action. Click. Look at that. I can see that it's just been added in. And look at that. Nice, nice, nice. I can come back over to Actions now. There's my new one. Okay, it's also 0 seconds, so I need to go ahead and jump in and change that. So I'll come back in here to Duration, and let's say maybe this one's going to take 5 whopping seconds to get all the way across. And perhaps at this point I want to go ahead and come in and make this curve around as well. Okay, so we could go about doing that just as easily. We'll come back up. Well, we can just start down here on Path, and we'll change the path style. I'll just double click it to go ahead and set Bezier. And Logan, you want to go ahead and explain?
That action move was moving from where we had paused to below the doorway. And
Right.
that's the path we have highlighted now. I mean, it won't break anything, but it's because it's still an instant move. But we can just straighten it out, maybe put it back to linear.
We'll just go ahead and set it out. Yeah, we'll change
Either way,
it.
I mean, it's still instant.
Now, get back down there.
So now we're dealing with the move to where we're at now.
That's
if we change
what we
that
want.
to Bezier, then we have the correct path set to be curved, or Bezier.
Exactly. So I'll go ahead and hit W up there. Right click. I'll come back in here and straighten out Bezier curves. Boom, like such. Then go ahead and hit W again. And let's go get focus back in here. And then simply select, Control, and drag around. And select, Control, drag around. Maybe right about in here somewhere. Grab this guy. Maybe back a little bit. I don't know, something like that. Of course, you know, that's always the convenient thing about having preview. We can come in here and take a look. But remember, I can't keep stressing this enough, just so that people understand exactly how these actions work. What do we expect to see when we actually play our preview back? Traveling around, then we're going to pause, then a cut, and on that cut we're going to be instantly traveling as well. Okay? Does that sound right to you?
Right, we'll be paused, and then once that pause completes, we'll start moving from a new camera angle.
You got it. So we'll come in here, and here we go. Around, pause. Remember, orientation's not set at the moment. Boom, and here we are going around the bottom. So let's say we wanted to do a camera cut into the new location. Very simple. All we really need to do is come up here and go ahead and add in an action pause, right? And then take this action pause, and this is where we can start reordering basically our different actions, which is really nice. We can come in here and move that one up, okay? So it's an instantaneous move to this location. And then how long do we want to pause for? So we'll go ahead and come down here to duration and say, maybe I want to pause it for 3 seconds. And then I need to make sure that I do not forget to come in here and set the interpolation point.
Yeah, where are we pausing at?
So in this particular case, the interpolation point is going to be, it's this guy down here, isn't it?
Yep.
And so we'll come up here, interpolation point, use. There we go. And then everything updates and fixes itself. Okay? So now if we were to go back through, now as soon as we do the camera cut over, okay, the instant move right here, we're immediately going to go right into a 3-second pause, and then after that we'll start traveling along down the path. Again, before I hit preview and we watch it again, I want you guys to not forget what's going on in regards to the orientation. Right now we're just doing basic actions. We've not yet started using sub-actions, okay? And those sub-actions is where we're going to start getting into controlling the orientation of a camera, or at least it's one of the things we can do in a sub-action. So by default, when you don't have any sub-actions, the camera is always going to look down the path. So that's what's happening right here. Okay? So let's go ahead and check this out real quick. So we'll simply come back into preview and play. We're cruising around. Good. Pausing. Good. Camera cut. Pause. Nice. And start moving.
So you can see it's actually really easy to go back and edit a sequence. Add in a pause, or if you wanted to, that could have been a different move. Move to somewhere else instead.
Exactly. Notice how I just funked myself in the head 100 times as we went through all of those support beams down there. So let's go ahead and close this out. And let's see. Perhaps we may want to edit that just a little bit. I can just go ahead and come up here. You know how picky I can be from time to time. So you can start seeing how things are starting to look. All I need to do is go ahead and come down and, well, let's just go ahead and jump in here and grab this guy.
So another nice thing to note is you can select an action or the path itself, and that will select the action it belongs to, which is actually really convenient once you have a complex scene. As you can, if you're working in the viewport and you want to see what part of this path you need to edit to change its timing, just click on it and then see what action it goes with.
Okay, so let's see. Anything else that we want to show right offhand that we can think of? Actually, there is probably a few more things. Let's see. We've gone over everything we need to there. Our path. Up under path, we do have a couple more things that may be of interest. And probably easiest to demonstrate this, Logan, if I go ahead and add a few more actions in here. So basically, this is where we're ending off right now. So let's go ahead and...
Probably just one more. Just to
yeah,
see
that'll do the trick. Maybe something right over here. So I'll just go ahead and come up here and add an interpolation point and action right there. Again, it's going to add another action in. So it set a duration to 0, and it auto-linked it to this particular interpolation point. There's our path, and this is going to do the trick for us right here. Let's go ahead and change this new path style over to Bezier. Okay, and I'm going to come up here, hit W, and we can just kind of zoom in. This area right here is going to work really well for us. We may also want to just real quickly go ahead and straighten our Bezier curves. Okay, then I can come in here, Control, and watch that. The moment I started to update this, I'm now affecting both sides of my path here. This segment and this segment back here.
That's right. And if you don't want it to behave like that, that's what the Be Smooth corner is for. For example, if you want both paths to be Bezier, but you don't want them to interfere with each other.
In other words, you have independent control.
That's right. You could go back to your first path or the one right before this one, if that's one you didn't want to affect. So you grab that and set its Be Smooth corner to false.
That would be this guy. So here we go. Set that to false.
Now go to the last action.
And well, at this
or now you can
yeah, exactly.
It goes into a curved path.
At this point, when I adjust this guy, well, first of all, if I come in here and set this to true, and I come over here and start adjusting, you'll see it's still affecting that other side. But if I come in here and set it to false, now look at that, independent control. Just be careful doing something like this if you're planning on having a camera smoothly go around an interpolation point like that, and you have this thing broke. It's not going to be smooth, is it?
No, you'll as you can see, if you zoom in on the curve with that after being moved, it's no longer smooth. That's actually why it was modifying the path after it, was in order to keep this path smooth.
Exactly.
I have to move it around a little bit more to really see that.
Yeah, it's a little tough, but I mean, well, here you go. Watch this. You can see it now.
Right, so if you were to continue moving that at a certain speed, you would definitely feel that from the camera.
Absolutely. So remember, the camera's looking down the path, looking down the path, looking down the path, snap. Suddenly right in this area here, the camera's going to snap around about 10, 15 degrees. I mean, it's going to be instantaneous, and that'll be very noticeable. Okay, if you were to come back over and take this guy and set him back to true, the moment I come in here and move this, boom, they're going to snap back in sync.
So now it's keeping it smooth, but in order to do that, it has to modify both paths.
You got it. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's see. Anything else major that I want to go ahead and talk about at the moment? So path, this guy, I think that's going to pretty much cover everything that we wanted to talk about in regards to actions. So we can always end this off with a little bit of fun, and that is, let's just see how crazy this thing looks inside Unreal. Let's go ahead and come over here to Scenes. Let's make this a little more interesting. I'm going to come down here to the Scene Manager, come down, and I'm going to turn on the B Cinematic View, set it to true, just to make things a little more interesting. And so with that, let's go ahead, play ball.
Or Unreal.
Yeah, it's a joke.
You can tell I don't get out enough.
So let me just go ahead and hit escape real quick, and let's just kind of move that up. All right, now, let's go.
Play.
All right, so let's see. Where do we put that thing? Somewhere over here, and here we go for the ride. Look at that. Letterbox effect, cruising around the hall. Snap. Nice. Pause. Another camera cut. Pause. Off with the motion. Around. And woo, right around that. And there we go. Okay? And now we're cut off where if we want to start moving around. Oops, what do you know? Triggered it again. Whoa. Let's go ahead and jump out of this. Let's go ahead and come back into Unreal Ed. Back over here to our actions. And I do want to point out the fact that the very last one, if you were keeping up with things, how it was an instant let us off the hook. So we had our player back. That's because we never came in here and set a duration. So if you see something happen to where you're expecting to see yourself traveling down another segment of your curve, if you will, and it not happen, check your timing.
All right, basically we cut to that last point instead of moving to it.
Exactly. So with that, that's going to wrap up the lesson on actions. Thanks.